The attitude of gratitude is a manner of looking at things. The difference is in the mindset. The mindset of entitlement says, these are my desires. I am entitled to having them fulfilled by the universe. The mindset of gratitude says, I am entitled to nothing. I am such an insignificant fallen soul. If I receive even one gift from God and His creation, I should be filled with thankfulness. This is the way towards Sharanagati. A very special mantra that can fill our hearts with positivity and also make us the recipients of bountifuls of God's grace is these 3 words, thank you, God. This was the message shared by a quadriplegic lady. Quadriplegia is when 4 of your limbs are not functioning. This lady wrote about her struggle in her world-famous autobiography, Joni, the amazing story of a young lady's struggle against quadriplegia and depression. Joni was born in Baltimore. Her father was a member of the US wrestling Olympic team. And naturally, she led a very outdoor life in her youth. But everything changed when she was 17 years old. She jumped into the water in Chesapeake Bay in a place where it was very shallow, and her head shattered against the floor, thereby rupturing the 4th and 5th vertebrae of her cervical spine. The consequence was that her 4 limbs got paralyzed. She underwent 2 years of rehabilitation in the hospital. When she felt desolate, rejected by God, her faith got tested until one day she caught a paintbrush in her mouth and began painting. That one act of positivity opened up a new phase in her life. She learned to write again with a pen in her mouth, and later on through voice recognition software, she went on to write 40 books and inspire millions on how to remain positive despite such debilitating limitations. In a radio show, she was asked what was her secret that kept her going and positive. She said, I have learned to thank God in every situation. Just say, thank you, God. Now you may contest that and say, Swamiji, when the going is tough, how can I thank God? It's a matter of perspective. One North Indian poet of the 18th century, he related his own personal experience. He had been invited by the Badshah to visit the court and present his poetry, when the reality dawned upon him that he did not have a proper attire for the court. And he was then cursing the Supreme for not even bestowing a proper set of clothes to him, when there was a knock on his door. On opening, he found a disabled person whose right leg was missing and left arm was also missing. But this man was getting along. He had a crutch under his right shoulder that he was holding with his right arm to prop himself up. and he had toys that were strung around on a rope hanging from his neck. This poet looked at him and said, "Dear khilone wala, dear toy seller, what a pitiable state you are in. Do you not feel miserable about the state of your life?" The khilone wala said, "Absolutely not. I am engaged in such a wonderful activity. I have got one leg and one arm, and I am able to get around with it. And I am selling toys. I see it as an opportunity to give joy and happiness to the little ones. I have no complaints about my life. Are there any complaints in your life that I can help you with?" The poet was floored. He was complaining to the Lord about lack of a regal dress, while here was a person without an arm and a leg, and yet full of gratitude. So this attitude of gratitude does not require prerequisites. It is a manner of looking at the world. It is also something that we need to learn to cultivate as the fourth aspect of Sharanagati. Let me read about it to you from my latest book, Spiritual Secrets from Hinduism. We have received so many priceless gifts from the Lord. The earth we walk upon, the sunlight with which we see, the air we breathe, and the water we drink are all bestowed by Him. In fact, it is because of Him that we exist. He brought us to life and conferred immortality to our soul. We do not pay Him any tax in return. The least we can do is acknowledge these graces and feel indebted for them. This is the attitude of gratitude. The attitude of gratitude we are talking about is a manner of looking at things. A master and a disciple used to reside in the Himalayas in a little monastery that consisted of a thatched hut that they had built for themselves. It was a decent enough place. But one day, a huge storm came, and the temporary abode did not have the strength to survive. Literally half of it got washed away by the storm. Next morning in the day, when the storm had subsided, the disciple's faith in the Supreme was shaken. He was complaining, "Why did God do this to us? We are practicing sadhana. Did He not know? Could He not have protected us?" The master, on the other hand, was full of gratitude. He said, "Did you note the intensity of the storm? It literally uprooted everything in its path. How amazing that half our monastery survived. This is the grace of God." The situation was the same. One was seeing the lack, the other was seeing the blessings. The difference is in the mindset. The mindset of entitlement says, "These are my desires. I am entitled to having them fulfilled by the universe." The mindset of gratitude says, "I am entitled to nothing. I am such an insignificant fallen soul. If I receive even one gift from God and His creation, I should be filled with thankfulness." This is the way towards positive thinking. It is the instruction the Guru gives to the disciple. One Guru was on a journey with his disciples and they reached a village at night time. They had been hungry through the day. They went around begging for alms. But they were shooed away at every house because it was dark and people were scared of these monks. Who would they be? Finally, this group of ascetics found an abode to spend the night. The Guru knew the disciples would be full of bitterness. So he said, let's sit down and discuss. Before anybody could speak, the Guru said, let us thank God. The disciples complained, thank God, but we have not had one morsel of food today. What should we thank Him for? The Guru said, He knows what we have need of more than ourselves. His plan goes beyond comfort and material luxuries to our spiritual elevation. Sometimes we may not understand, but our faith must remain strong. It's like the grandmother who is knitting a sweater for her grandchild. And when the grandchild looks from below, all he can see is these strings hanging in a haphazard manner. He says, Dadi, what are you doing? She says, I am lovingly making a sweater for you. He says, but this is so chaotic. Dadiji says, come look from this side. And he sees a beautiful pattern unfolding in the knitting, which was visible to the grandmother from this side, but not to the grandchild from the other side. Likewise, in His kindness, said the Master, the Sadhu, God sometimes decides austerity is good for us. As we thank Him for the bread we eat, when He chooses to leave us deprived, we must thank Him with equal zest. This attitude, the mantra, thank you God, in all situations, if somebody can do it, they are fulfilling the fourth criteria of surrender to attract divine grace. We have come a long way in our discussion of surrender, and we have got just 2 points left now. The 5th point is to give up the sense of proprietorship and see everything as belonging to Him. And the 6th point is to surrender even the pride of having surrendered. We shall continue the discussion in this series, Spiritual Secrets from Hinduism.